All right. Hey, thanks for coming, guys. We're off again. We have Betty Van Volsen as the co host today and the special live guest, the one and only Nathan Oakley. How's it going, guys?
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for coming. I only threw up once today. It's better than the three times I threw up for the first show. So I think we're golden.
You might be hungry now.
So what we're going to do today's a pretty good show, folks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a couple parts out of the Master Science presentation and focus on those. One part we didn't go over, that's saved for maybe the second episode of Ballbusters or the third episodes. We'll see how it goes. But I'm going to pull it out here at the end of the show and go over it. And we're going to talk about, I think we're going to go over probably observational studies, field experiments, and natural experiments. I think I did a presentation a long time ago on these three. They're so silly. The evolutionists back in the day were also using these arguments, and I had it stashed back there in my files. So I decided to pull it out for the presentation, obviously, because I'm getting the same types of arguments from the BallTARDS, right? The same ones from the evolutionists. The BallTARDS are giving me the same deal. What they're doing is, once we talk about experiments, and they just let their fingers do the walk on the Google search button and Google experiments, and what comes up are observational studies, natural experiments, and field experiments. But there's a lot of problems if you don't know what you're looking at and you just parrot that back. And I've heard a couple people talking about this, some globetards. Of course, we had natural experiments bird humping Jeremy. But he only brought up natural experiments. But there's been a couple other people talking about these other types of quote unquote experiments. And there's some definite problems, and you're just going to shake your head over these folks. I mean, it's really that bad. So, before we get started, I'd just like to say if you would like to support this channel, there is a Patreon and PayPal link in the info box below. I'd also like to shout out my current Patreons, Sam Hine, Qatar Craig, and Felix Hung. Thank you. Appreciate it. Anything before we get started, folks?
I'm just keen to get to the astronomer's ass whipping.
I think we're going to save that to the end.
Oh, what?
I think we have to save that one to the end. Yeah, we're going to have to do it. We'll have to do it that way. All right, Betty, anything out there in the chat?
No, not yet, but someone said no stream, so I was a little bit worried if there is not buffering going on. So that's what I was looking at.
Was there no stream?
Yes, I had some buffering myself, so that's maybe something to monitor a little bit. Maybe people in the chat can say if it's buffering or not.
How's it going out there, guys? It should be good. I'm getting pretty good usage right here, so this should be going okay.
Okay, maybe it's more my.
Yeah, I wouldn't sweat it. I think it'll be fine. I've got it up as well. It seems fine to me.
It seems fine.
Okay, then it's good. Okay.
All right, you guys ready to get into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, like I said, we're going to start off with natural experiments, observational studies, and field studies. But before we get to that, I'd like to briefly stop and discuss experiments because, or preface it with experiments because, and you'll see what I mean here in a minute. You're going to see that the studies above right here have nothing to do with experiment. actual experiment. So, what is an experiment? Well, it's a hypothesis test, right? And remember, from Luar's Computational Chemistry, Introduction to Theory and Application of Molecular and Quantum Mechanics, the final arbiter of truth in science is experiment. I mean, you can't have science without experiment, period. From Professor Shankar, Chair, Professor of Physics at Yale, the only way things change in physics is experiment. Everything is based on experiment. That's the only way we change our mind. So, if everything is based on experiment in physics and you don't have experiment, then you don't have anything, in other words. So, what constitutes an experiment? From Penn State University, there should be 3 categories of variables in every experiment: the dependent, independent, and controlled. The dependent variable, the effect; the result, the prediction; the independent variable, the cause, that which is varied and manipulated by the scientist to produce the effect; and controlled variables. These variables are held constant so as not to confound the test. Right? From the Institute of Physics, when planning an investigation, students need to identify the variables that they consider significant and then select the ones that they want to look at for cause and effect. If possible, any other variables that will affect the outcome of the experiment need to be kept constant during the investigation. What are the 3 types of variables? Independent variable, dependent variable, and control variables. You need these to have an experiment. Period. End of story. So what's the problem here? If you type in experiment into Google, you're going to get these guys pop up: natural experiments, observational studies, and field studies. You're going to see them, I'm telling you. But what are these? And what are the problems? Right? They're going to jump off the page at you. From their alma mater wiki, natural experiments are a different type of quasi-experiment design used by researchers. It differs from person-by-person treatment in a way that there is not a variable that is being manipulated by the experimenter. This should jump off the page at you. Quasi. What is quasi? What does it mean? Well, from the Oxford dictionaries, quasi means seemingly, apparently, but not really. Synonyms for quasi: pseudo, not real or genuine; sham or spurious. Right? So this isn't an experiment, folks. We could stop right here with natural experiments. It's over. But we'll go one step further. From Craig P. from the Journal of Epidemiology and Community Health, the term natural experiment lacks an exact definition. And many variants are found in the literature. The common thread in most definitions is exposure to the event or intervention of interest has not been manipulated by the researcher. What's the problem, right? Red, no viable independent variables equals no experiment. It's dead in the water right there. We don't need to go any further. But we will. Outside a random control trial, it is rare for variation and exposure to an intervention to be random. So special care is needed in the design, reporting, and interpretation of evidence from natural experimental studies. And causal inferences must be drawn with care. Natural experimental studies are more susceptible to bias and confounding. Natural experimental studies are often recommended as a way of understanding the impact of, this is important, of population-level policies on health or health inequality. There are important areas of public health policy, such as suicide prevention, air pollution control, public smoking bans, and alcohol taxation, where natural experiment studies have already contributed a convincing body of evidence. This is a joke, folks. Is suicide prevention, air pollution control, public smoking bans, and alcohol taxation friggin' physics, chemistry, biochemistry, or biology? No. Not at all. This has nothing whatsoever to do with it. It's not natural science. Both of these guys, natural experiments, and the next guy, observational studies, deal with epidemiology or public health. They do a lot of correlation studies. Well, correlation doesn't equal causation. And as we've seen above, natural experiments, like real experiments, the experiments from the scientific method, they need cause and effect elucidated. They have independent and dependent variables. These guys don't. As just defined right for you. A natural experiment. And the next one up on the chopping block. Observational studies are not scientific experiments. This is really easy right here. From Hinkleman et al., Design and Analysis of Experiments, Introduction to Experimental Design. The first sentence, observational studies are not experiments. Well, we can end it right there, folks, can't we? But we'll continue. By definition, observational studies lack the manipulation required for Baconian experiments. Yeah, they don't have any independent variables, just like its twisted sister above, natural experiments. These guys are really close to each other. So it's over for this. This is a joke. And the last guy. Field studies or field experiments are not scientific experiments. From Wikipedia. However, like natural experiments, field experiments suffer from the possibility of contamination. Experimental conditions can be controlled with more precision and certainty in the lab. Yet some phenomena, for example, voter turnout in an election, cannot be easily studied in a laboratory. What in the world? What are we talking about here? What do they mean by field experiments and voter turnout? Does this sound like natural science to you? Does it sound like physics? Eh? Essay. Here's some more. From the Oxford Handbooks, field experimentation represents a departure from laboratory experimentation. Well, thanks a lot. We appreciate that. Here's some examples of field studies. From Habermas. For example, conduct experiments in which African subjects win prizes depending on how quickly they can open a combination lock. The random manipulation is whether the person who instructs them on the use of such locks is a co-ethnic or a member of a different ethnic group. That's an example of a field study. What are we talking about here? I mean, give me a break, guys. This is a joke. Another study from the Journal of Politics. This is a field experiment. From Chinden Bond and Jiva in 2000. Study of the way in which 69 congressional staffers made simulated scheduling decisions. An experiment designed to detect whether scheduling preference is given to groups associated with political action committee. I mean, if you don't see this sham by now, this has nothing to do with natural science. It has nothing to do with physics whatsoever. These are not experiments. They have the word experiment in them, but they're not experiments. They have the word banana in it, but it's not a banana. In other words, that's how stupid this is. And the last one. They even put natural. This is a natural field experiment. Not just a field experiment, a natural one. By Gerber, Carlin, and Bergen from the American Political Science Review. That sounds like physics. Randomly assign newspaper subscriptions prior to an election and conduct a survey of recipients in order to gauge the extent to which the ideological tone of different papers manifests itself in the recipient's political opinions. This is a joke, folks. So, in summary, what we have here are brain-dead globetards, ICD-10, F72 codes, that means severe mental retardation, typing experiment, like I said, in the search engine, and mindlessly parroting abject nonsense because they have the first clue as to what they're looking at. That's all you got here, folks. It's just a mirage. It's just words they're parroting. No backbone, no nothing. Questions, comments on that one?
Yeah, I like the way that the pseudo-scientists name their pseudo-practices as closely as possible to the actual sciences. So you've got experiments, and in an experiment, you look at natural phenomena. Well, what have we also got from the pseudo-scientists? We've got a natural experiment. Like we've got a BMW made in Germany, and then we've got this BMW hash sign with it, and that's from China, and it's not made by BMW. But it says BMW in the name. It's just got a hash afterwards, but it's definitely not a BMW. And then you've got a BMW. So you've got science, establishes cause and effect, and then you've got not science with natural science, natural experiment as the title, just to throw you off. Of course, that's what you're going to do if you're a pretender clown, right? You're going to, if you're not a lawyer, you're going to name yourself something that's got the word lawyer in it, so that people think you're a lawyer.
That's exactly what they did. You're right. Yeah. I hope everyone sees it out here. Listen, I hate to insult your intelligence, but you're going to be seeing or hearing people parroting these things, because that's what the BallTARDS do. Once it's said, then they just parrot it. Well, what about natural experiments? You had Jem Panda out here talking about natural experiments, birds humping natural experiments, right? And all they do is parrot this stuff, and you won't be ready for it. I just wanted to give you a head start, elucidate the topic for you. This is a joke, folks. I don't know how else to categorize it. As you can see, it has nothing to do with natural science, has nothing to do with physics. They're all pretender clowns, period. Just be ready for them out there.
So is this Jem Panda then? Natural experiment in this regard isn't a natural phenomena. It's what we're calling the natural experiment of watching birds hunt.
Yeah, he brought it up not too. Remember, we did a show about that not too long ago, and he brought up. He said, "Well, we have natural experiments. You don't need the scientific method. We have natural experiments," which is preposterous, right? But a couple other people that I've listened to, and a couple little birdies dropped a few messages that said, field experiments and observational studies. Usually, these are the three musketeers. I've had this, like I said, for many years with evolutionists. Used to do the same damn thing because they had no experiments. They didn't know what experiments were to begin with, right? So all they did was type experiment, because that's all I'd say. Experiment, you know how I am. Experiment, and then type it into their favorite search engine, and they're going to get observational studies, natural experiments, and field experiments, and just parrot this stuff. And all you have to do is dig for Micah deep underneath, and it, like I just showed you, it all falls apart. They're not actual experiments, but have experiment in the phrase or the term.
John, just an intervention. Can you do something about the buffering in the sense of that you maybe get rid of the icon?
Is it buffering a little bit too much out there?
This too much.
Okay.
People are complaining in the chat.
Okay, wait one.
Might help.
Let's take it off of there. Good. Let's give it a couple more seconds.
Yeah, I have to see if it works. Hopefully.
We'll give it a couple seconds.
Okay, yeah, this can't fly. I mean, I mentioned this to you on one of the, I think it was at the end of Ballbusters in the after show or something along those lines. I want you to do a GoFundMe, John. I know you've got a nice shiny new laptop and you love it, but it's just not good enough. So if you can set up a GoFundMe for like $500, I'm sure people would support you to have a decent computer, given that it's garbage.
Yeah,
It's not good enough to do the stream. So can you do that? Can you? I know I only made it as a suggestion. Can you actually do that though? Can you set up a GoFundMe for like $500 for like a desktop computer to actually run your show with?
Yeah, if it's going that bad, the first show went good, but I think this one is just overwhelming my system.
Sure, it's because you've got Skype up. Power hog. Anyway, I would say hold on with this as you can. Hopefully, don't overwhelm your computer. Set up a GoFundMe, get a better computer, and carry on from there.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, folks. If it's too bad to listen to, then I don't think I should plod on. I apologize. The first show went really well with the same setup, but it seems that my system's getting overwhelmed. I had Skype up before, no problems. So I'll tell you what, Nathan, what do you think? You make the call, man.
Well, I would just say, like I say, at this point, at least consider this like a slight advert. At least people have got a heads up. They're going to do a GoFundMe now. So, you know.
Let me see if I can't turn a couple other things off. Betty, are you watching the stream? Sorry about this, folks.
Yeah, I'm watching. Yeah. I think you have now the Master Science Part 1 thumbnail on.
Right.
Can you put the slides on so that we can see things moving? Then I can see if it's running.
I'm gonna take that off. Let's see how it's going. Let's switch on over. And how about that?
I think I need to refresh.
Yeah, just to check it and make sure, and then we'll move on from here. If it's broadcasting okay, I'd like to finish this show up. I'm not getting any warnings or anything here.
Yeah, I'd say you seem fine. I've just gone and checked it. It seems okay at mine. I would carry on round out this show.
And I can always do it again. I have no problem with that. But this will be the last show before I get a new computer. So it's going to get better, guys. I'll guarantee it, because I'm not going to do it again. I put it. I was going to say I put it up on the roulette wheel one too many times. I think the first show went without a hitch, but I figured in the end that I wasn't going to get past the 1.7 gigahertz clock speed. But I wanted to gamble. So listen, I think the stream is going well now. Betty?
I don't see the slides myself, so I think it's buffering for me.
Is it buffering for you, Nathan?
I wouldn't worry about it though. I'd move on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, half the show is going to be talking about the buffering, which is just an audience killer.
Just go on, and people can watch it later, because then it's all combined. So
Sure. Okay. Well, let's bring a topic up that we talked about on Ballbusters, and this is all about the natural world. And we know from dealing with BallTARDS for the past 3.5 years, they don't know the difference between the natural world, the man-made world, and the supernatural. It's a trichotomy, not a dichotomy. We're going to get to that here in a few seconds. So, the natural world, let's take a look at this from Merriam-Webster. The natural world, all of the animals, plants, and other things existing in nature and not made or caused by people. From Oxford Dictionaries, natural, existing in or derived from nature, not made or caused by humankind. Natural from vocabulary.com, something that comes from nature rather than being man-made. And from Cambridge, natural, from nature, not artificial or involving anything made or caused by people. So this is pretty clear from these definitions. There is a dichotomy here, and the antithesis of natural is man-made, obviously. Let's take a look at natural science from Oxford. Natural science, the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. Physical and natural world, right? The physical and natural as opposed to man-made or supernatural. This is very easy to reconcile, folks. Example, can you please identify the non-physical natural? I'd like to see that. Physical denotes chemical formula and structure, charge, mass, momentum, or spin, milli-electron volts, kcals, and kilojoules. In other words, matter or energy. Natural denotes existing in or derived from nature. Duh, right? Not made or caused by humankind. Here is the trichotomy. And I'm going to camp out here and drop anchor. This is what you need to understand. The supernatural, the physical and natural, and man-made. There's three, not two. Obviously, the supernatural is information, time, and thoughts. Physical and natural are trees, water, light, frogs, and sulfur, and about 1 billion other things. And man-made is Cheerios, barbecue grills, shoes, headphones, and Indy cars. You see, The differences here between the physical and natural and the physical and man-made, yeah, these are physical, but they're not natural. You're not walking out in nature coming across barbecue grills or shoes or Cheerios. These are physical and natural. This is what this group right here is what the scientific method is concerned with, and specifically the first step of the scientific method. This is very important. This is the whole point. When we differentiate these, what we're doing is we're putting them in categories so you can identify what would be an appropriate dependent variable, the effect. That's the point of this discussion. And anyone that can fog a mirror can see the differences here. Obviously, the supernatural appears not natural. It has no chemical formula, structure, charge, mass, or momentum, or spin, right? Thoughts don't have it, time definitely doesn't have it, and information doesn't. All these do have those characteristics and traits. And so do these. However, we're looking at the cause here. The cause. Cheerios, yeah, they have natural ingredients. A lot of them do. Barbecue grills, natural. They also have a lot of synthetic parts, but that's not the big deal. The final product is man-made. The final product here is not man-made. I hope everyone understands that. It's very important. Again, natural world. All the animals, plants, and other things existing in nature and not made or caused by people. Natural, existing or derived from nature, not made or caused by humankind. Natural, something that comes from nature rather than being man-made. Natural, from nature, not artificial or involving anything made or caused by people. Differentiates them right there. So like I said, just for the argument's sake, let's entertain the Surfer's argument and allow man-made objects as natural phenomena. Like I said, the dependent variable or the effect, and see how it shakes out. Before we get there, let's take a look at Kennesaw State. A law describes what nature does. A theory explains how nature works. So in their paradigm, we're looking for either a law or a theory. But if those things that are man-made are allowed as dependent variables, so these guys at Kennesaw State must be talking about lawnmower theories and toaster oven laws, right? Pendulum theories and pendulum laws, bowling ball theories and bowling ball laws. They would have to be. These are all man-made. When you go into Google Scholar and you're looking up studies, are you overwhelmed by these things? Huh? No? By the way, if you thought this, you'd fail 5th grade general science. Furthermore, the entire goal of the scientific method is to elucidate/reveal cause and effect relationships, like we discussed above. Well, aren't man-made objects caused by man? Pray tell, if they are, why would we need to scientifically investigate them then? We already have the answer. I mean, this is silly. Let's keep it simple. 2-step algo. Step 1. Is the inquiry concerning A, nature, or B, man-made object? If it's B, then it isn't a valid scientific inquiry. Why? Because it's a man-made object. If it's A, continue to step 2. Step 2. Is the inquiry or the effect or the dependent variable A, cause and effect question, or B, a what is question? If it's B, then it isn't a valid scientific inquiry. If it's A, then proceed to the first step of the scientific method. It's as simple as that. Comments, questions?
Nope.
Nathan,
I don't think so.
I
I don't think so. I mean, people who are pretending that their world, which is fake, needs validity, they're going to come up with fake sciences to do it, and they're going to pretend that their man-made devices are worthy of scientific investigation, and they're not.
Exactly. Well, we finished up this presentation with discussing a natural phenomena, and I got carpet bomb barraged in the comment section and in chat by guess who? Our old buddy Charlie Cosray. And I promised him to make him a star today. And Charlie, you know, this presentation was buffering the whole time, but you know what? I'm going to finish it anyway, but I'm going to circle around back to this as soon as my computer's upgraded, and we're going to do it officially. Just in case it's
now, by the way.
Say again?
It's not buffering now.
It's not buffering now?
No, it's good.
Standing. So Charlie, even though you know what, Charlie? Even though it's not buffering now, I'm still going to do it all over again just for you. So, if anyone doesn't know who Charlie is, he's a regular chat and comment section troll, right? He's probably out there in the comment section right now. He's a self-professed degree holder in astronomy. He was on the retard circuit for at least 3 years. So when I come out here, I remember the Cosray emblem, so he's been out here at least as long as I have. He's made a couple cameos on the ED Earth Discussions 2.0, which is now defunct, which affectionately known as erectile dysfunction. This clown show with retards, you know, Curved Water, Cordis, Georgie Tatonka, Mr. Error's Not the Atmosphere, Ad Blocker. There was a few other clowns that was on that show. And the funny part about it, the total audience always equaled the number of panel members. So what I think they did was they pulled up the watch page and just muted, and they were just watching themselves. It was hilarious. It went on for about 8 months with 5 people watching each show. I dragged this guy around by his short hairs under my... This is where I first ran into him, personally. Right under my QM presentation on Cathexis's channel. So, hey, if you want some good laughs, go check that out and read the comment section. Because he tried to parrot that. Of course, he didn't parrot it appropriately or accurately, trying to sort of, how should we say, cast his role in a better light. You should read that. It's very interesting, very illuminating. And I smashed him countless times during the past couple years. He's had a problem with the Coriolis argument. He always ended up with the atmosphere spinning with the Earth, right? That's what he did. But he had a big problem. He came out on the last show, and these are the statements that I got from him. Let's go. I'll just go through each real quick, and then we'll circle back for a couple of them. It's really easy to see what's going on here. So he said, all the parts of a shoe are natural. So a shoe is natural, yet the claim is that a shoe is not natural. My God. The quantum eraser experiment seems man-made. It sounds like QE has agreed that you can't have any man-made components in science, so all equipment is not allowed. No microscopes, no chemicals, no telescopes, etc. The quantum eraser experiment is completely man-made, so it's not physical and natural at all. I'm very puzzled by all of this, as essentially all the quantum physics experiments involve man-made experiments and conditioning. How is this possible? The point here is that QE has now said that the quantum eraser experiment, which is man-made, is not usable. So, you should be institutionalized, sir. You not only have the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable, you're completely off the reservation. Let's start off with the first one. All the parts of a shoe are natural. Really? Well, for number one, this is a straw man, because my argument isn't what shoes are made of. What they are caused by is my argument. And all shoes are natural? I'm wearing a pair of Nike running shoes right now, and you're saying this is natural? It got 70% rubber, 17% plastic, and the other parts are ethylene vinyl acetate. Do you think that's natural there, Charlie? Sorry, Charlie, tricks are for kids. And like I said, it's nothing but a straw man fallacy anyway. This has nothing to do with my argument. We don't care. The quantum eraser experiment seems man-made, really. Every experiment ever conducted, every single one, is man-made, Charlie. What are you talking about here? The dependent variable isn't the experiment. See, that's our argument. The dependent variable must be natural. We're not seeing experiments out in nature, Charlie. You're quite confused. A couple more here. It sounds like QE has decreed that you can't have any man-made components inside. I never decreed it. I never implied this nonsensical buffoonery. Like I said, you should be institutionalized. No equipment is allowed. No microscopes, no chemicals. Are you kidding me? Quantum eraser experiment, like I said, completely man-made. You guys are getting the flavor of this. He's thinking the experiment is the dependent variable or something. It's a joke. His belly laughing appeals above are so stupid. Language isn't equipped to fully encapsulate it. Mr. Magoo, astronomer, like I said, we provide distinction between man-made, physical, and natural, and the supernatural. We are referring to the natural phenomena observed. The dependent variable, the effect, that has to be physical and natural to be natural science. The effect dependent variable has to be natural in natural science physics, you daft muppet, because we are testing experiment for the cause or the independent variable of that natural effect. It can't be man that caused it because, number one, it wouldn't be physics, natural science, because man caused it. And number two, we wouldn't need to test for the cause, Charlie, because we already know the cause. It's frigging man. Next block of instruction, how to breathe on Tuesday afternoons. Thank you for explicitly demonstrating what an epic, clinical level Dunning-Kruger pretender clown muppet you truly are. Thank you very much, Charlie. I couldn't have done it without you. Astronomers unite! Questions, comments?
Not really a question, just an observation. It seems that more and more on our side of the conversation, that would be the flat earth side of the conversation, we're looking at and critiquing, don't jump down my throat, the sciences. And then, at least in our side of the camp, pointing out the distinction between actual empiricism, established cause and effect relationships that have been established through systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis, or to put it another way, science, versus, well, that term you said, natural experiments and field experiments and natural field experiments and nonsense that's used to make things seem empirical when they're just so stories. And on our side of the fence, we're interested pretty much predominantly in the natural world we live in. The flat earthers are interested in science, basically. Actual science, the study of the physical and natural world, the natural sciences. That's what we're interested in. The people on the other side of the fence, the globe side, they're left with the reality that's not real. And they have to lean on pseudoscience to prove their worldview. So flat earthers, we're interested in natural science, real science. Globe earthers, they're interested in pseudoscience and maths.
That's exactly right, because they can't prove anything. They think their sciences, the pseudosciences, are actual sciences, and they say they can't prove anything. Yeah, they can't, because they're pseudosciences. They're always correcting. Yeah, because they're giving you just so stories. Actual science, there are no corrections. If it's validated by experiment, the only way you can refute an experiment that's been repeatedly validated is to somehow find a flaw in the experimental design. And then you would have to find that flaw in the people that also repeated that experiment. I can't think of one instance in history where that's the case. I can't think of one. I never heard of one. So science doesn't change. That's the whole point. Truth doesn't change. It's quite simple and beautiful. All right, guys. Any other comments or questions? Any questions from chat, Betty? Anything that we can sink our teeth into?
Not really. You got a couple of super chats.
Oh, then go ahead. Go ahead and shout them out.
Yeah, so Dave Rakia Gafford sent you $99.99, I think.
With 99.99, Dave, that's way too much, man. Awesome, dude.
Yeah. And he says Rakia Live Comp Fund. I think a computer fund.
Oh, the computer fund, the
Fund for
people.
computer.
Oh, what are they thinking? That I just went live so people would feel sorry for me on a bad computer? I didn't do that, folks. I'm telling you, man.
That's me. That's me saying, "Oh, we'll do a GoFund a GoFundMe for you," and I think he's just said that. I'm like, "Oh, well, I'll smash a super chat. Why not? Good for you. Thanks, Dave. Hopefully, we'll get you on a good computer and he won't stutter and stammer and not him."
Well, I got one of the people in the side chat thinking that you're doing this on purpose. I think that Pete Shea thinks that you did this for that reason.
No way. No way, Pete.
Yeah, what actually happened, Pete, is he intentionally went into his computer and made it garbage. It's just basically just for the audience's benefit. John went out and bought a computer, not knowing that he'd be streaming, like, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and now he's in a position where he's streaming, and the nice shiny computer he has isn't capable of it. So, I've said it 2 or 3 times. Look, just set up a GoFundMe. People will be, what's the word? They'll warm to the idea of it. It's not like they're going to go, "Oh, just lying. You haven't got a crap computer." Self-evident, right?
Yeah. Come on, Pete. I wouldn't do that, man. I have some integrity. Betty, who was the other one?
That is Erwin Janssens, and he says he has €5, and he says, "Could you do another Coriolis explanation, please? I didn't get it the first 50 times."
I like the sense of humor, man. Hey, you know what? I'm going to do a number of presentations over and over again, and they're going to be filed away on my channel, so people can just go back and find the exact video that they're looking for and just keep on watching it over and over again. But those all the presentations that I've done, I'm going to repeat them. So you're going to catch each and every single argument over and over and over again, man. You're going to get sick of it. You're going to be throwing new computers at me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at least go ahead.
I know he's saying it in sarcasm in terms of the Coriolis effect, but as is true with every single globe proof ever, they start with the presupposition you're on a globe. That's every single argument for the globe. I used to say 99.9% of globe arguments start with the presupposition that you're on a globe, because I thought at some stage they'll come up with one that doesn't. They haven't, and they never will. So in terms of Coriolis effect, that's no different. They're always going to argue it from the standpoint that you're on a non-inertial spinning reference frame. And what that means, loosely translated, is I demand we start this argument with me presupposing that Earth is spinning. That's what they're saying. So like all globe Earth arguments, Coriolis is no different. Doesn't matter which argument you talk about. They're arguing it from the globe standpoint. They're arguing from a presupposition of a spinning ball Earth. Simple.
I don't think anyone can articulate the Coriolis argument any better than you. I haven't heard it. You got this down to it's an art form. Right?
Yeah, I think so. I agree. Yeah.
And it absolutely kills. This is, like I said, this is the second argument. The king of the hill is you can't have gas pressure without a container. That just destroys the whole heliocentric religion right at the core. It just cuts its knees off. And then the Coriolis effect argument, it just destroys the spinning part. There's nothing left of the heliocentric spinning ball space monkey religion after those two. There really ain't. And those arguments can be portrayed rather quickly, within 5 minutes. So I'll tell you what, look out, BallTARDS. I mean, we're taking this on the road. As soon as that new computer comes, I mean, we're going to get medieval.
How can you get on the road if you don't use a laptop anymore?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, there will be. You'll have to. So I'm hoping when this show shuts down, the first thing you'll do is set up a GoFundMe. But that, like with Ranty, when I talked him into doing the same thing to upgrade his camera, I was his cheerleader, but he actually had to do the donkey work. So in this instance, this computer will be revived for your GoFundMe QE-a-thon. It will be called
a QE-a-thon. It sounds so pathetic, man. The QE-a-thon. Yeah. And listen, guys, I want to apologize for the computer issues. I should have known better. Like I said, I was throwing the dice back up on the table again since the first show went so well. I was running everything, no problems, no issues. I said, I think I could get away with it again, but it just wasn't meant to be. I want to apologize for the quality of the stream. That won't happen again. The next time I go live and the live shows after it, it'll be with the proper and appropriate equipment to handle everything on this stream. I promise you, right? And it won't be long. If it's not next week, next Tuesday, it'll be the Tuesday after. That's a fact. So, any final comments? Any words before I shut down?
I think that you made some tests and the test looks fine. So I don't think that you would know that this could happen. I mean, it's you're a novelty at this, right? So what you gonna do?
Yeah, I
think that it went well, and people can look this back. So would be nice if people could comment it in the chat. But I think it still went well, and I think 98 people watching now. So I think that's very good, right?
Oh yeah, 90. That's outstanding. Thanks for staying, guys.
I've got one more point.
Go ahead.
I've got one more point.
Go ahead.
And I think it was the main crux of Ballbusters. After rewatching Ballbusters, there was one distinct point that I thought it was mainly me that hijacked it, but the indictment of real science. So there are plenty of people on our side of the argument. I know most of the show has been attacking BallTARDS, spinning space monkey religion worshippers, but we can't continue to indict real science, and sort of panic. The sciences will collapse if this is brought to light or any of that kind of crap. It's like, no, they won't. Science is just a method. There will be absolutely zero change in science. And when I say that, I mean in real science. So there's a whole bunch of people, some of them better known than others, that go around and saying science has lied to us. Science isn't something with lips. It doesn't lie. It's a method. It's empirical. And it will absolutely weather this storm. So the people who've got things to fear from an exposure of the pseudosciences that masquerade as science, they're the Neil deGrasse Tysons and this chat troll that you've mentioned today. The people who are claiming they're scientists and don't have anything in regards to the actual scientific method. And the actual scientific method, like I say, is the real science, and it won't have any issues. It's not going to suddenly fall away and the institution around it will collapse. It's like, no, it won't. But the pretender clowns, they'll disappear pretty rapidly. But not if we indict them. It's the real scientists, that is. If we indict all science by saying science has lied, then we're as bad as they when we reify science into something that's telling us stories and lying to us when it's actually a method of empiricism. That was all.
No, and it's a great point, right? It's the pseudosciences. So, and it's difficult for people. I even found difficulty with it in the beginning because we like to say science. We like to tidy everything up in packages, but you have to be hyper specific when you say sciences. If you say, you can't say, is biology science? Well, that depends on what you mean, because there's many subcategories in biology. Right? Not only do you have different microbiology, cellular biology, molecular biology, and even subcategories under them. Is that science? I don't know. Do they have a claim? Yes. Do they have experiment? Nope. Then that's not science. If you're categorizing things in a taxonomic classification system, that's not science. That's glorified secretarial work. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta be hyper specific when you talk about these things. Don't just give sweeping generalizations. Oh, biology, that's science. No, it's not. Get specific. Get hyper specific. Let's go through each one and find out if it is. You can see
because most of the things in biology are discoveries, right?
Exactly. You got discovery isn't science. Because that's answering, remember what I said. Discovery's answering what is questions. What is science all about, or the scientific method all about? Answering how, why questions. There's a big difference between what is, describing what is, and explanations of how and why.
Yep.
And that branch of science is our science. You know, we're as flat earthers interested in the world around us, the physical and natural world. That's science. That's what we're interested in. So when it comes to people who might be able to weasel another branch of, I'm saying it wrong, scientia, the knowledge aspect of it, and say, well, this is technically science, it's like, well, that's not the science we're interested in. We're interested in the physical and natural world. That's what we're exclusively interested in. As flat earthers, that's our subject right there. And who's dealing with that? Well, that's natural science.
Exactly. You can't get around it.
Yep.
All right, folks, any last words, and we'll close up shop?
Yeah, you got another super chat, and it's from Del West Watson for £5. And he says, Nathan is ace. So, compliment to Nathan.
Thanks, Del West Watson. Really appreciate it.
You're getting shouted out on my chat. What's up with that?